So if you have these four things, you should take new tax regime without thinking anything. If you have deductions more than 3.75 lakhs, then you need to choose old tax regime. Your tax burden will always be less. So welcome everyone. आज हम बात करने वाले हैं एक ऐसे टॉपिक के बारे में जिसके रिगार्डिंग सबको थोड़ा बहुत कंफ्यूजन है. Everyone wants to know कि which tax regime is more beneficial to them. Is it the old regime or should they switch to the new tax regime? और एक कॉमन परसेप्शन सबका ऐसा है कि ओल्ड टैक्स रिजाइम के मुकाबले न्यू टैक्स रिजाइम में, क्योंकि 7 लाख तक के इनकम तक मुझे कोई टैक्स नहीं देना, तो शायद इधर मुझे टैक्स का बर्डन मुझे कम हो जाएगा. तो आज के वीडियो में, आज के टॉपिक में हम ओल्ड टैक्स रिजाइम और न्यू टैक्स रिजाइम का बहुत ही डिटेल से एनालिसिस करके देखेंगे और समझने की कोशिश करेंगे कि व्हाट टैक्स रिजाइम इज़ बेस्ट फॉर यू. आंसर इतना सिंपल है नहीं, लेकिन हम कोशिश करेंगे इसको बहुत ही बारीकी से समझने के लिए. तो इस वीडियो को एंड तक जरूर देखना ये समझने के लिए कि व्हाट आर द बेसिक डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन द बोथ द टैक्स रिजाइम्स एंड व्हाट इज मोर सुइटेबल फॉर ईच पर्सन. तो ओल्ड टैक्स रिजाइम और न्यू टैक्स रिजाइम के बीच के डिफरेंसेस को समझने के लिए हम आइटम वाइज आइटम एक करके एक आगे बढ़ेंगे और दोनों के डिफरेंसेस को समझेंगे. पहले देखते हैं सम बेसिक फीचर्स ऑफ बोथ द टैक्स रिजाइम्स. इफ यू लुक एट इट, द बेसिक इनकम लेवल, जब तक आपको एक भी टैक्स नहीं लगता, इन ओल्ड टैक्स रिजाइम इट वाज 5 lakhs एंड इन न्यू टैक्स रिजाइम इट हैज बीन 7 lakhs. So from this basic perspective, it feels as if the new tax regime is more beneficial. स्टैंडर्ड डिडक्शन जो सैलरीड पर्सनस को 50,000 तक ओल्ड टैक्स रिजाइम में मिलता था, इट हैज़ बीन कंटिन्यूड इन द न्यू टैक्स रिजाइम एज वेल. और जो बेसिक रिबेट आपको 12,500 मिल रहा था इन ओल्ड टैक्स रिजाइम, करेंटली इट्स नाउ 25,000. दैट्स एग्जैक्टली वाई 7 लाख तक के इनकम तक आपको कोई भी टैक्स नहीं देना पड़ रहा है. और इसके साथ अगर हम टैक्स स्लैब्स एंड टैक्स रेट्स अगर देखें, तो इन द न्यू टैक्स रिजाइम द टैक्स रेट्स आर लेस देन द ओल्ड टैक्स रिजाइम. तो up until now it feels and it is little bit clear कि new tax regime you are getting benefit of a higher rebate and also you are getting benefit of lower tax rates. So presumably you should get a lower tax burden. But the thing that you are not getting in the new tax regime is some deductions which were earlier available in the old tax regime. So let's look at these deductions and which are available in which tax regime. So for salaried people, there are many deductions that you are not getting in the new tax regime. First of all, it is the HRA ka exemption, that is the rent ka deductions which you were getting in earlier tax regimes. Now in new tax regime, you are not getting that. Leave travel ka allowance is now no longer an exemption. Food allowance is no longer there. Entertainment allowance and professional tax card deduction is no longer available. And one of the most important deductions was the interest on home loans. Earlier, you were getting deduction on the interest that you were paying on your home loan, and for most salaried people, it was one of the most important tax planning ka instrument. But now, you will not get interest on home loan ka deduction for your self-occupied property. Only if that property has been let out, you will get the deduction in the new tax regime. All ATC deductions which were very popular, including Provident Fund, LIC investments, ELSS investments, PPF investments, FD investments, all of which we were getting as a deduction in the ATC. In the old tax regime, in the new tax regime, you will no longer get these deductions. In case of NPS contributions, you will no longer get deductions on your employee contribution. And employer ka contribution, which is normally not included in your CTC in most of the cases, that deduction is continued. There are other deductions as well, including medical insurance premiums. Disabled individuals were getting deduction under Section 80U, interest on education loan, interest on electric vehicles, donation to political parties under ATG, savings bank interest deduction under ATTTA, ATTTB, and other Chapter 60 deductions, all has been discontinued in the new tax regime. So up until now, we have understood that it is true that in the new tax regime, we are getting a higher rebate and also lower tax rates, but also there are many important deductions that has been denied, such as the Chapter 6A ETC deductions and also interest on home loan on your self-occupied property. Moving forward, there are some deductions that are still available in the new tax regime. The most important being, which we have already discussed, is interest on home loan on let out property, the standard deduction of 50,000 to salaried people, perquisites for official purposes that has been reimbursed by the employees. For example, your travel reimbursements, mobile bill reimbursements, these are still allowed as an exemption. Employer's contribution to NPS, and there are some other deductions such as gifts up to 50,000 rupees, voluntary retirement exemption, gratuity exemption, exemption on leave encashment, conveyance allowance, all this stuff, which were also available in the old tax regime and will still be available if you go into the old tax regime or new tax regime alike. So the math is quite simple. If you don't have any deductions which are falling under all these brackets, you are well off to go under new tax regime. But if you have any of these deductions, then the answer is not that simple. You have benefits of lower tax rates in the new tax regime, but at the same time benefit of these deductions in the old tax regime. Also, another important thing to remember is that you can always convert or shift from the old tax regime to new tax regime, but the reverse is not possible. That is, you cannot come back from the new tax regime to old tax regime. So for example, you now shift to the new tax regime thinking that you do not have any interest on home loan to take advantage of currently, but if in future you take a home loan and you pay interest and you want to take advantage of this interest on home loan on your self-occupied property, you cannot come back to the old tax regime. So if you're planning to have this deduction in future, if you're tax planning in that way also, it's better off to remain in the old tax regime than to move on to the new tax regime. So we have made this little calculation of ours where we are looking at the different tax rates and how it is beneficial to go into which tax regime for you. It's pretty simple. You just need to calculate your salary and which tax slab do you fall in. And if you are suppose in the 5 lakh to 6 lakhs tax slab, and now for your information, the new tax regime rates applicable for you will be 5%, but you will get entire rebate. However, in the old scheme, you will have 20% tax rate. So whether you have deductions or no, it's beneficial for you to go into the new tax regime. However, important thing to remember is that in future also you cannot take benefit of these deductions that we just talked about. Suppose you come under the 9 lakh to 10 lakh tax slab. Here also you get a benefit in the tax rates. Like in new tax regime you have only 15% tax rate. However, in old it's 30% tax rates. You will not get any deduction if you go into the new tax regime, but you will get this 15% tax rate benefit. However, if you have some deductions that you want to take advantage of, then the answer is not that simple. You will have to make your tax calculation, probably consult a CA and look for yourself which one gives you a lesser tax burden and also is good for you in the future. You can take a screenshot of this table and come back to this video later whenever you are doing your tax calculations. Another important thing to see here is that if you have an income above 50 lakhs, an interesting thing to see is that both under the new tax regime and old tax regime, you are getting a tax rate of 30%. It's true that in old tax regime you will get deductions. However, in the new tax regime, the surcharge that will be applicable to you is only 25% on the tax, right? However, in the old tax regime, the same is 37% of surcharge. So from that angle, if you have an income above 50 lakhs, irrespective of deductions, it is more beneficial for you to come under the new tax regime. If you have substantial deductions, then again you'll have to do some calculations. You can consult us or any nearby CA you have. take good financial advice before committing to any tax planning. So after looking at that quite data heavy table, we have come to understand that if you do not have any deductions that you can take advantage of today or in future, it is 100% beneficial for you to move into the new tax regime. You don't have to make any investments, you don't have to take any insurance policies, no education loans, none of those headaches. You can just know your income and pay your taxes by looking at the tax rates. That has been the exact intention of the government, to make the tax simpler for their citizens. Congratulations. However, the true challenge arises when you have these deductions around you and you really don't know whether the old tax regime will be beneficial for you or the new tax regime. So we looked around a bit and we found this great analysis on ClearTax, which kind of answers this question for you. Here, you can look at the income level that you fall in and the exact amount of deductions you need for the old tax regime to be more beneficial. For example, if you fall under the income level of 8 lakh rupees, you need at least 1,38,500 rupees of deductions for the old tax regime to be more beneficial. If you fall under 10 lakhs rupees of income levels, then you need at least 2,50,000 rupees of deductions. And this is the deduction criteria which will be more beneficial for you to look at and to decide which tax regime is more beneficial to you. You can always refer this diagram on ClearTax website or take a screenshot here. So based on this table, if you have deductions less than 1.5 lakhs, the new tax regime will be beneficial to you nonetheless. If you have deductions above 3.75 lakhs, depending upon whatever income you are earning, the old tax regime will be more beneficial to you. However, if you have deductions within 1.5 lakhs to 3.75 lakhs, then things get a little tricky and you will need to consult your CA, do detailed tax calculations and look at what is the individual tax burden that you are getting under each tax regime and decide accordingly. See, if you feel a little confused, don't feel alone, you are in good company. So there it is. You looked at both the tax regimes very minutely, tried to analyze all the income levels, tax slabs, tax rates, and deductions. And you should have understood by now that it's not that simple as science. There are a lot of factors at play. And a very diligent financial advisor would have to do a lot of detailed calculation for you to tell you what exactly is beneficial for you. But I hope you would have taken something out of it and understood a little bit more about the tax that you are paying. Before we part our ways, let me finally summarize for you two things. Who should take new tax regime and who should take old tax regime. So buckle up. So if you have these four things, you should take new tax regime without thinking anything. First one, you have income up to 7 lakhs. Don't think anything, just take the new tax regime, enjoy no taxes. Secondly, if you have deductions less than 1.5 lakhs against your income, then you don't need to think any further. As per the table that we just saw, you will always pay less tax under the new tax regime. And also, if you are in love with a simple tax structure, don't want to waste your mind going to CS, then just take the new tax regime. It's way simpler. There are not many deductions. There are simple tax rates that you need to apply to your salary, and that the tax that you are going to pay. And fourth, if you have income above 50 lakhs and want to pay less surcharge, 25% against 37% in the old tax regime, then you need to choose the new tax regime. In most of the cases, your tax burden will be less. Now coming back to old tax regime. If you have these three things with you, then you should always go for the old tax regime. Never go to the new tax regime. First one, if you have deductions more than 3.75 lakhs, then you need to choose old tax regime. Your tax burden will always be less. Secondly, you may not have any deductions to take advantage currently. However, you want to take advantage of deductions in future. You may invest in PPF, LIC, you can take a educational loan in future. So keeping that in mind, you should always stick with the old tax regime now, because you cannot come back from the new tax regime to the old tax regime, but you can always go to the new tax regime from the old tax regime. So if in future you have some tax planning in mind, then you need to stick with the old tax regime. And third, which is a major deductions people claim, salaried people claim, is the interest on home loan. If you have interest on home loan on the house that you're staying now, a self-occupied property, then you should stick with the old tax regime, because in the new tax regime you do not get these deductions. You get the interest deduction only for a rented property. For the home that you are living in, if you want to take that as a deductions, you need to stay with the old tax regime, which is a major consideration for most of the salaried people. And again, do consult with a CA before making any tax planning or committing to any investment in the name of tax planning. This is only an educational video. The purpose is only to educate. And thank you for watching. If you like this, do watch the entire video on YouTube. So thank you for watching. See you next time.